Hi, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about persuasive writing, which is a genre of writing in which writers use writing to persuade others. Uh, so today's agenda is we're going to write into the day. Then we're going to ask the question, what is persuasive writing? And I'm going to give you some tools to begin writing under the influence. Um, One thing I would like for you to do is fill out this KWL chart, which is a variation of the KWL chart. But before you even begin our genre study, I would like for you to fill out what do I think I know? What do I want to learn? And then in the third box, which is a little different than maybe you've been used to, how do I find out what I want to learn? Then, after kind of going through this class, this particular session, I want you to record what you have learned. What actions are you going to take now that you've learned this information? And what kinds of new questions do I have? So this kind of gives you a way to navigate through this particular topic. So what is persuasive writing? So persuasive writing is presenting an argument or an opinion in an attempt to convince somebody to accept your point of view. So you're really writing to persuade the reader to think a certain way, to do something, to buy something, believe something, and you're using all the elements you can in terms of a writer to convince somebody to think a certain way. There's three major techniques of persuasion. One is logos, which is appealing to logic. So when we use this particular technique of persuasion, you're trying to make readers identify and analyze the point of view that you're taking, and you're going to develop the rationale for that point of view. So typically, you will pose a problem and then suggest different solutions. You might also bring in quite a bit of research, quotations, uh, any other kinds of things from experts that will help support your particular stance on a certain issue. So you'll see this type of persuasion happening in things like editorials, campaign speeches, debates, things like that, where you'll use a collection of facts to support why you believe a certain way. Another technique of persuasion is ethos. So that's appealing to admiration and transfer. So you'll see a lot of this with display ads, classify ads. You might see a very attractive person selling you a particular thing and wanting to be similar to that person. You might be persuaded to buy that certain thing. So, using this technique of persuasion, readers identify with a spokesperson or group, such as a celebrity or an attractive, successful person, and authors hope that readers will see themselves as well known, attractive, wealthy, or successful if they buy the services or products or accept the ideas presented. So, this is where you'll see a lot of celebrity endorsements, a lot of people who might be approachable, hawking certain products and really appealing to your ethos, hoping that your admiration for that particular person will transfer into you purchasing that product. The third type of technique for persuasion is pathos. So that's really appealing to emotions. It's also called the bandwagon approach because what you're trying to do is convince people that everybody thinks this way, so hop on the bandwagon. The author will present information in such a way to make readers believe that many other people feel the same way. And again, you'll see quite a bit of this in speeches and display ads and letters, op-ed letters that you'll see in the newspaper. You'll see a lot of this being done on talk radio or programs on shows such as Fox News or MSNBC, in which they'll have different people really appealing to your emotions without necessarily appealing to to logic all the time. So, persuasive type of writing has quite a bit of power attached to it. And some of the different things that you can do to really set forth your opinion is to quote statistics and use them to mean what you want them to mean. Sometimes statistics can be skewed or repositioned in a way that doesn't necessarily speak the truth, but can be persuasive. You might use emotive or biased vocabulary rather than straightforward words. And you might even blind the reader with science. So you might have fancy formulas or technical terms to really support yourself as an expert to persuade somebody. And sometimes this is really, true. If you're a particular expert in an area, and you know the research behind that particular thing, then you tend to be a more credible writer for a particular cause. All sorts of different types of persuasive writing. And I want you to see all sorts of possibilities in your multi-genre projects that you're creating. But apologies, written apologies, text apologies to somebody can be oftentimes a persuasive type of writing. Any type of billboards, any reviews, music, book, movie, restaurant, different campaign speeches, ads, critiques, debates, editorials, real estate descriptions. You're trying to convince somebody to buy the house. So those can be persuasive types of writing. Essays, job applications. You're trying to convince somebody to hire you. Letters to the editor, letters of protest, letters of complaint. I once wrote a letter of complaint to Office Max, and I received all sorts of gift cards back because I wrote that letter of complaint. Persuasive informational books, persuasive essays, and of course sales pitches. So there's a whole wide plethora of different types of persuasive writing that's all around you, that's trying to convince you to think or feel a certain way. I want to just show you visually some of these different types. So of course advertisements, photo essays. This is from Time Magazine. It's trying to really show us what happens. At least this photo essay was about poaching, and photo essays are used to show the effects of poaching, which is informational in some ways, but it's also meant to do something for you, maybe take action or make you feel a certain way. Of course, any type of reviews. And so we have all sorts of different types. We have reviews, of course, that we'll see in magazines, newspapers, but also there's all sorts of reviews online like Yelp or Rotten Tomatoes that will give us information from others. Think of Amazon. Think of the different kinds of book reviews people give. And then there's several different types of picture books that are persuasively based. Earrings is about this little girl who wants to get her ears pierced and wants different earrings. So think of that also. There's all sorts of things out, picture books out there as well that the author is taking a stance on trying to, or has a character within the book that's trying to convince parents or somebody else to do something. And then, of course, editorial cartoons. You'll see these in the editorial section of newspapers. And speeches. Think of the great Martin Luther King speech and how dramatic that speech was in enacting change. Think of speeches other famous people have given to really convince people to feel a certain way. Speeches have proven over our time in history to be really effective tools of persuading people to change their opinions about certain issues. When you're constructing a persuasive genre study, I think it's really important for you to think of what are some potential publication outlets for your work, for kids' work, And so it might be a newspaper that you are creating with your classroom. It might be a video that my children, when they were even younger, especially loved this Evan tube that you see here in the left-hand corner. It's a little boy who does all these toy reviews, and he could be very convincing. So publication outlets could be kids doing video reviews and convincing other people by showing those video reviews. Of course, Goodreads or Amazon, in which kids are giving book reviews. In the bottom right-hand corner is This I Believe essays, and those are essays written. It can be written by anybody. It's a NPR podcast that I recommend you checking out because some of those can be very powerful pieces of writing that maybe persuade you to think or feel about a particular cause or a particular topic that you've never really thought of in a different way. So when you're setting out for publication within persuasive writing, think about what the outcome can be for students and make sure it's a really make sure persuasive pieces go somewhere outside the classroom, maybe in the form of a letter as well. There's different types of mini lessons that you might teach with persuasion. Certainly using strong helping verbs. Authors sometimes use these strong words to add voice or mood to the main verb. I know in our editing session, I talked a bit about taking these types of words out, but sometimes in persuasion, you want to put these words back in. And this is what Lincoln did when he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. You might even build a strong message using repetitive phrases. So you see this in Martin Luther King's speech, in which he uses "I still have a dream" or "I have a dream" over and over and over again to hone in this dramatic mood, persuading others to action. Here's another case in which we have repetitive phrases being made. And then, of course, during election season, we have all sorts of strong messages using repetitive phrases or symbols. You'll often hear candidates say their mottos over and over again. They might even use certain imagery within their mottos to evoke something. I think, we have the "Make America Great Again," which is the Trump phrase, and then we have "Stronger Together," which is the Hillary phrase. What I think is really interesting about hers is look what's highlighted. Look what's a different color on hers. The word "her," signifying a woman, which is a historical thing in itself, and then the arrow pushing a certain way. The Trump one has the 5 stars. That oftentimes evokes symbolism of military power. The 5-star general. And of course, both of them use red, white, and blue as symbolism. So this week you're going to go through, I have a bunch of text gathered for you on Canvas, and that are multiple examples of persuasive writing, different types of examples. So I've gathered the text for you. We're studying this genre because you're going to be writing a persuasive piece as part of your multi-genre project, but also so that you know a bit more about how to teach persuasive writing in your classrooms. When you immerse in the text, I want you to read, and then I want you to individually notice things about the text and ask questions. I want you to notice content, topic, purpose, audience, tone. And as you go even deeper to close study, I have a graphic organizer to kind of help you organize how I want you to go a little bit deeper in the text. So what's the author's purpose? What kind of tone is the author using in terms of logos, pathos, ethos? What kind of assertion is the author making? Supporting evidence, opponent's viewpoint, arguments against the opposing viewpoint. Some of these might not have any of this. So study and see what various authors do when they construct these texts. And then finally, I want you to write under the influence. I want you to draft maybe one or multiple persuasive pieces that might fit within the theme of your multi-genre piece. And it could be a whole collection of different things. All right, happy writing.